Hello and welcome to My Autism Ally podcast, where we come together to share helpful information about autism. Today, we're going to do introductions and give you some more information about us here at My Autism Ally, who we are, and what's our why. I'm Samantha Drudge, and my cohort is our Executive Director of My Autism Ally, Susan Crowell.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Susan. How are you?
How are you? Yeah, we talk at the same time, and a lot of times we say the exact same thing. This is fun. This is going to be the start of a new adventure for us with the My Autism Ally podcast. So what's my why? Why did I start My Autism Ally? Well, it's a story that started a long time ago. I'm a parent of a child with autism. My son is now 19, but we got his diagnosis at 2.5 years of age. And I remember how difficult it was to find resources, find good information. And really, so much has changed since then, but some things have really stayed the same. Finding good information is really key, and getting early intervention to improve those outcomes. And that's why I started My Autism Ally, to make it easier for you, dear listener, to be able to access the resources you need to help your loved one on the spectrum.
Well, my why is very similar to yours because they're both our sons. My son is 19 going on 20. Holy cow. He was diagnosed in 3rd grade. We knew something was different. He could read at the age of 3, comprehend. It was really scary to be a young first-time mom and your kid can read at 3. We kind of just worked on skills, and then we started struggling in school, like a lot of parents. So then that's when we finally decided to break down and get a diagnosis. And as my son likes to say, he didn't know all of his diagnosis until a year ago. That was on me. My kid over obsesses and has anxiety, so I chose not to tell him everything at first until he was old enough to handle it. But he is definitely the reason I got into autism. I do have cousins that are on the spectrum and things, but definitely my kiddo is my reason why.
And yeah, and definitely because, when Matthew was diagnosed, autism rates were 1 in 150. Mm-hmm. Now they're 1 in
58.
59, 58. There you go. And back then, when he was 2, really everybody's example of autism was Rain Man.
Oh, I know.
And I can remember my husband and I going and seeing that movie, and my husband hated that movie. He left the movie theater going, ugh, that was a waste. And little did we know, a decade later, that was going to be the start of our journey.
So what changed after your child got his diagnosis for your family? What was the biggest change for you guys?
Well, it was nice to have a name to what was going on. I mean, quite honestly, he was very different than his older sister in terms of development. And we struggled a bit to even get that referral to get a diagnosis, because everybody was like, oh, boys talk later than girls. And it's not a big deal. Let's wait a few more months before we do anything. And I remember digging out old video of our daughter and looking at it and going, no, this isn't just a little delay. This is a lot. There's a lot different. And so I called the doctor back up after we went in for just a well check and went, no, I don't want to wait. I want that referral now. And that decision I think changed the course of a lot of things for him. And
what is his diagnosis? Because I think that's the big difference between ours is,
yes,
I have a high functioning kiddo who struggles more socially and doesn't have empathy, where yours is very different than mine.
yes.
So why don't you
As a
explain
matter of
yours?
fact, you're probably every once in a while going to hear him in the background when we're doing podcasts, because as best as I can do to get him to entertain himself, slam door. My son is more impacted on the autism spectrum, although he's 19 and he has some splinter skills that are absolutely phenomenal. Like you could ask him to multiply 4,968 times 392, and he could rattle off the answer. He
It's
really
amazing.
enjoys
It's amazing
books.
to see him do that.
His favorite book right now is rereading Brown Bear, Brown Bear, What Do You See? His comprehension level is more of kindergarten, first grade, but it's obvious everything goes in. His expressive language is a lot more rote phrases. And so he's more of an autism level 2. He does have communication. He does have good skills, and he can do a lot of his own self-help, but he still needs help doing some of those everyday basic tasks that you would expect a 19-year-old to be able to do.
So with that, what is your family's biggest struggle with day to day? I mean, what's...
Well, there's a pandemic going on.
Oh, really? Has that been like recent? I mean,
that's been a thing, so right now we're recording this in late January. And so that means we've been doing this thing for about 10 months.
Oh my gosh, it's really been that long.
We chose remote learning for Matthew. But for us, that means he obviously, because of his skill set, we're working a lot more on work chore skills and self-help skills and things like that. So I would say the biggest struggle is when we first started, it's kind of even still the same now. It's routine. He's very routine oriented. He's very routine driven. So whatever the routine is, if it varies, that's when we're going to have trouble. And that was really the big driver for us choosing remote learning, because I knew he was going to struggle if we would have to quarantine for 10 days and then he could go back to school. And then if his teacher was out for 10 days and then she was back, or if the aide was out and then back. And I just thought, the biggest consistency I can give for him is to make things just the most consistent as possible. And so school didn't change much for us since March, because it's been the same thing. It's been us doing the Google Meets, us doing, worksheets and work, and then working a lot on our home self-help skills, work chore skills, things like that. The biggest change was trying to find the schedule that worked and worked long term.
And I think that's a lot of our parents. I mean, we're a little different. I mean, my kiddo's high functioning. He goes and has a part-time job, and then goes to school at Purdue, Fort Wayne. And, so he prefers the online classes. So it's a lot of that, because he can take out the people, or as he likes to word it, the stupid out of the situation. And you guys are going to hear a lot more about our children as we go on with these.
Her son is an absolute riot, by the way.
I am sorry now, everybody.
I enjoy him so much.
Because he just says what he thinks. Like, there's no filter. And, it's just, what you see is what you get.
We might be married to one of those too, but, each,
oh God,
not, we aren't married to the same guy, but... But we each have our own married version of that as well. So
definitely. Yeah. It keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
I think back to, just that beginning start was our biggest struggle too. Just anything with change. Like, we just don't do well. We never started college until our younger brother started college, really. Like now we're more into it and we're more social about it. He didn't want to learn how to drive until his brother did it. Like everything he's ever done, he's watched his brother figure out how to fail at it or how to succeed at it, and then learns from it from there. Like he doesn't do anything the first time by himself, if that makes sense. Like
That totally makes sense. I think there's a lot of people that are that way, though, especially our higher functioning individuals on the spectrum, which, by the way, we'll talk about this sometime, I'm sure, but high functioning, low functioning, that's more about how we experience another person's autism.
mm-hmm.
It's not like we think those are really great labels.
Right, at all.
But it gives general public the idea of where they fall on that autism spectrum, because as we all know, no two individuals with autism are the same.
Exactly. And this is a very good case of that for everybody, who's listening. Susan's son and my son, they are, very, very different on the spectrum, but they're both on the spectrum.
And they both work at the same place. Matthew actually he volunteers at the library, but he's totally capable of, certain skills, and that numbers thing, has come in handy since, he shelves at the library and things like that. So,
which I think is so
even
cool.
even though an individual can be more impacted, it doesn't mean they can't be a positive influence in their community.
Yes. And that's like the key thing I hope everyone can take away from today is, we have two kiddos, two different severities of the autism spectrum, but look at what they can do. Mm-hmm. Don't pigeonhole and think of, well, you can only do this. No, you can do whatever you want. You just might have to modify it to fit and have some accommodations along the way. But things are doable. You just got to figure out what their interest is. I think that was our biggest problem.
You could use those interests to be motivators. And that's something that, especially when you have kids in school, sometimes to get them to do the less interesting work, write an essay, things like that. I can remember when I was an aide at a local school district, I would always try to motivate my kids going, okay, this essay can be about anything or anyone. And so if you knew what their motivators were, I can remember one time I had an individual who was really, really into Angry Birds. And so the assignment was write 3 sentences that were, using descriptive words. We had a list of descriptive words. And so all of our sentences were related to Angry Birds. And he did it super fast and he did it super well. It's sometimes about providing that right motivation. So,
well, and I love that because that is, it's still doing the same assignment, where other kids might think they have to write a certain way, but write about your interest, write about the thing that makes you happy. I mean, I have a kid who writes about Pokemon every time he can have a chance. So, whatever your interests are, go that route for sure.
Definitely use those interests as motivators.
All right. Well, we are coming to the end of our lovely podcast, Miss Susan. Do you want to do our segment that we haven't even told anybody exists yet?
Yeah, we have a segment. We have one segment for the show that we will consistently do. And
it's
you
awesome.
if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you might have a clue as to what it already is. But it's called You Might Be an Autism Parent If. And we actually take submissions for this segment. So if you want to share with us what you might be an autism parent if segment, you can give us a call at 260-207-4686. Leave us a voicemail and we'll put it on the air. So, Sam, I'm going to start.
Okay.
You might be an autism parent if, and at my house, this was definitely the case, you stepped over the toys lined up in the hallway to avoid the meltdown. Because when Matthew was 2, it would be like he would change it up. Every once in a while, it would be Hot Wheels. Every once in a while, it would be Thomas the Train. But I would have a line of them running down the hallway.
Oh, yeah. I remember
And
those days.
it was like, okay, do I have the fight to put them away, or am I just going to leave them for a while? And some days we put them away. You can imagine how well that went some days. Well, because occasionally I did have to vacuum, but other times it was, nope, you're going to leave it and just step over it. It was probably a bigger problem for a sister because it was on her side of the hallway, but so you might be an autism parent if slam, he was here.
I love it. I love it. So you might be an autism parent if you own for your child in their closet, there are 6 of the same t-shirt, 6 of the same pants, different colors, and 6 of the same kind of socks, because he has to have certain pants, certain shirts, and certain socks because of that whole sensory tag. We can't have anything with tags in our house for Ethan.
I remember that.
It's definitely one of those things where I find something he likes to wear and I go buy 4 or 5 of that color or 4 or 5 of that shirt and different colors and give it to him. Because
I do that though. Sam makes fun of me because I have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different puffy vests in different colors.
I seriously love those puffy vests on you. She has a blue one, guys. And if you don't know Susan, her eyes pop with it. Just saying.
Yeah, it goes with the gray hair.
That or purple. You have a purple that looks really good. Okay. That was totally off topic, but I don't.
Distracted. Yes.
I'm just ADD.
No, I'm just, I know I'm that way. I when I find something that fits, yeah, I'm buying several of those. So I totally get it. I totally get it.
Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody. We definitely appreciate you guys listening. Please stay tuned for our next podcast. It is called Fun in the Sun. And we're going to have some providers on to talk about, just for us to start thinking about that summer, getting out of our bubble. Let's see what 2021, I almost said 2020. Ooh, bad. Is going to look like for us and just keep some options open. A lot of places are, starting to think about their summer camps and, just what's out there in Allen County for you guys.
And the adaptations that they make for individuals affected by autism, even a provider that is providing services for everyone. Part of the key is just asking and knowing what's available to make your life easier, your life and your visit there easier.
Exactly. So that is what is up next. Keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, we want to say thank you for listening. Please stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, and sign up for our newsletter at myautismally.org. We will talk with you all next time at My Autism Ally. Bye.
Bye.